You're listening to Studio 57 Radio, your home for underground hip-hop, rap, and R&B. Studio 57 Radio.
Yo, 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 what up, yo, rebels? We are back again. I hope you are ready. Guess what? It doesn't even feel like they left and the NBA's back. It's back. It's back. People are pointing fingers. Who's in the tournament, or who should be here? Who should be where? The rankings are a joke. NCAA football is a debacle. We're going to have fun with all this stuff. The NHL has kind of put out their divisions. I don't know if we're going to get into that. We got a lot to get into in just a couple hours. So, I hope you guys are ready. Buckle up for ADD Radio. Without further ado, let's do the do that we do at DSR2. I am Scrappy, and here's your host, Johnny the Moose.
Hey, we are back here for a glorious edition of DSR2 on this chilly winter-like Wednesday here in December, here in the D. So, we got lots here to talk about. We've got the NHL. Maybe we'll get into the NHL, the divisions of that. We also got NFL action going on there. Great game last Monday night with Baltimore in Cleveland.
Yes.
On there, so we'll get into that as a breakdown. Also, we got the weeks coming up here on there for week number 15. So we only got 3 more weeks left of the NFL regular season. Then we get to the playoffs on there. And again, we'll get into that as well. A little bit of breakdown on that. Also, we got NBA signings on this. Giannis signs a monster contract on there. We'll get into that as well. And baseball, and we'll get into baseball. MLB finally did something right there. They're allowing, basically they're stating that Negro League stats will count as part of MLB stats under. So we got a new MLB home run champion with Josh Gibson.
Nice.
Single season and lifetime.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice, very much.
Bonds, you got to start taking the juice and get your all swollen head and get back out there.
Greetings worldwide. We are officially international as our loyal listeners chime in and check in. Canada Mike's in, Beer Can Dan's in. He's back and quick, so there we go. A couple guys already in here on fire, wondering where we is been because we came on a couple minutes late, so I apologize for that. But lots to get into. Moose, that Monday game was something else.
That was a great game.
It was a really good game. I got to see a little bit of the Baker Mayfield that I kind of like, a little bit of moxie there, but playing under control. And
we saw one bad Baker, then we saw Baker with the bad interception.
Yeah, well, you can always point at the one pick, and I guess when you have a game that's that close, you're going to look at the one pick. My whole thing is he's been playing above board for a few weeks now, but I don't know if this is for real. Like when we come back next season, because they'll get popped in the first round probably of the playoffs, right? Let's be realistic as we get into that later as we move forward. But next year, when they come back and do things, do they build on this step that they made, or does he regress back to the Baker Mayfield we've seen up to this point?
Right.
Because 3 weeks does not a quarterback make.
No.
And to me, I'm very encouraged by that. And then the same thing for the flip with the whole with Baltimore. I mean, they're kind of digging themselves out of a hole right now, and they almost didn't have a quarterback.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like they're not in a good place. They got all these COVID problems, and now granted they could peak at the right time, and maybe if they piggyback Miami and get in and they could pop somebody in the first round or really just be a hard out, that would probably be a win for them. But, like, does that tell me anything either? So, as much as it was a great game, we got to see a lot, like listening to all these people start telling me all these things about what these teams are going to be going forward, I just don't know. I'm just not feeling that. either one of these teams could go in either direction with a quickness.
Yes, they can. On there.
So,
I think with Baker, but I think with Cleveland there is maybe they got the right coach on there with Ed Stefanski, because again, what did he do? Run the ball. I mean, that's what they do now. They run the ball on there.
Sure. No, there's definitely a better progression.
And I think you look at the debacle that was last year on there, and you look at this year, and again, here it is they did a pretty nice signing by getting a left tackle there to protect Mayfield. But again, you've got Chubb, you've got Hunt on there. When those two are on there, they're probably the best running team in the NFL side of Tennessee when Derrick Henry gets rolling.
Right.
Because, again, dude, nobody wants to start. No, again, when he gets rolling downhill, if you're a defensive back going,
dude, when he's got the ball, you make business decisions, my friend. You're like, do I want to play an extra year or so in my career, or do I want to possibly end it right now?
Do I want to?
I mean, like, I could either end it right now, or at best case scenario, I'm going to shave some time off. Like, seriously.
I may shave some time off my lifespan.
Yeah, I mean.
I may spend the next 10 years sitting in a chair drooling, eating,
dude, who knows, man? I mean, so yeah, cats make business decisions when it comes to that shit. Holy cow, without a doubt.
I mean, again.
So yeah, that guy's a different scenario, but so for me going forward, both of these teams, I'd like to see. Nothing against Miami, but I would like to see Baltimore kind of get a little run here. Leapfrog Miami, get in there, because I think when you look at having 3 of those teams from that division in the playoffs because of the current setup with the extra wild card, I just think that makes for some really cool, grimy fucking games.
As it stands right now, if all 3 get in there, and as everything stands right now, is they don't get buys. Pittsburgh does, again, we can't even say Pittsburgh wins out. They got 2 losses.
Sure.
They don't get a buy.
No.
Only one team in each conference gets a buy, and that's Kansas City right now.
Right.
And I don't know if New Orleans is going to hang on and get the buy on there because of the schedule.
Yeah, they may not.
Green
Bay
Bay
not.
might be
but
the one.
the thing with the one thing New Orleans has got going for them is that defense. And defense goes and travels and plays well no matter where you go. So for the most part, so they're like the Saints are like what, second overall defense in the league.
Yeah, they come out.
I mean, so if you're carrying that into the playoffs and you get a healthy Drew Brees, then I think that accounts for a first round game. But you're right, of course you want the bye, but I mean, when Brees went down, did anybody realistically think that they had an option at the bye?
No.
No, I mean no. So
we think it's going to catch up on there, and again. With them on there, with the bye, I think it'll help. I mean, again, if they hang on to get the defense rolling. And again, I think last week was an anomaly with losing to Philly and just having Philly run it right down on it. And again, the Miles Sanders, he broke an 82-yarder.
Right.
The problem, and again, look, Philly now looks like they may have we'll see what happens on there. Is Jalen Hurt looked pretty decent quarterback-wise. And again, Duke can still run.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they had 2 guys over 100 yards rushing on that one. So I think this game was an anomaly for them.
Yeah, well, this is my whole...
Because Taysom Hill looked pretty good.
Sure. No, absolutely. And I'm with you. And my whole thing with the Hurts thing, okay.
We'll see what happens in long term. Because you get film on him.
To me, I was about to say, Hurts will get figured out and he'll be brought back to life. I think the biggest... brought back down to level. I think the biggest issue is the Wentz situation, because my man will not step up in the pocket. Watch him play. He will not step up and through the pocket ever.
No.
He's always retreating.
Right.
Like
he's gun shy.
The slightest amount of pressure and he is running backwards. Now, you watch Hurts, and he will stand up, and he will step up in the pocket, let him get behind him, and then he can take off running. And he has lateral speed where he doesn't necessarily have to do that. Wentz absolutely has to do that. He doesn't have lateral sideways speed. No. So he absolutely has to stay in the pocket, let him get past his shoulders, step forward, and survey the situation. Am I bolting or am I getting to my last progression? Because he's not doing that. So I don't know that you can fix that. and keep like I don't know your staff and keep everything the same. So do you make that much of a? I mean, they have already made a huge financial commitment, but do you do that kind of commitment and hope all of a sudden that you can fix this guy, or do you run with Hurts until you can find somebody better? Because at least Hurts is not afraid to step up in the pocket, and then if he can't, he's got the mobility to get sideways, get lateral, where Wentz just doesn't have it like that.
Right.
And so, unless you think you can all of a sudden protect him and he's not going to be squirrely, but I just don't feel that.
They haven't drafted an offensive line on there forever.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't feel like they're going to.
I mean, on there. And again, they don't have any really a true number one receiver.
Right.
And again, they don't have an offensive line. And their secondary's terrible. They got a lot of holes there to fix that. And I don't know what's going to happen here. And again, they think they can make a run on there. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. They're not going to win that division on it. With it. And I think maybe it's just like go out through the end of the year. And again, do I get rid of Doug Peterson? No, dude just won a Super Bowl like 3 years ago. I mean,
right.
You got to give him at least
you can't.
And he's been to the playoffs every year that he's been coaching. So one bad year, and again, it's the COVID year. So this is unless you're the Lions and Jacksonville.
Well, the Lions
are Houston.
Yeah,
you don't get rid of anybody.
Well, it's one of those things. Well, this is just like okay. If you were ever going to, like, pull some rabbit out of your ass, it was going to be in this crazy, stupid year. And you've shit the bed up to this point already, so you're gone. Right. So that's what happened with those particular instances. But I mean, it's... I don't know. If you don't... They got to make some major changes, I think, over there. I don't know if you necessarily do... it's the same kind of thing here, right? So... for U of M. So Harbaugh will more than likely take the extension when he realizes there's not an NFL team that's going to pay him big money. And guess who's going to be the sacrificial lamb?
Don Brown.
Thank you. So your fucking defensive coordinator is going to go down in a ball of fire. And so something's got to happen, right? So the same thing's going to happen in Philly. Somebody's going to go down for this. And who is that going to be?
Jim Schwartz.
So that's what you're going to be looking to. And as a Philly fan, are you satisfied with that? I know Philly fans love to get their little ounce of fucking flesh, but that don't seem like enough.
No.
I mean, for the crew that fucking threw rocks at Santa, that just doesn't feel like enough.
No.
It's not enough for me, and I wouldn't throw anything at Santa.
And again, I don't think it's really Schwartz should be the sacrificial lamb on there. Again, I think it might be if anybody, it might be whoever's running the offense. Now I know Doug Peterson was calling the plays that, but
but if he can kill his OC,
he can kill his OC, throw him under the bus, and that with it on there. And again, we know Don Brown is on there because you had early signing day, and how many cats that were defensive players are all backing out of their commitments, going somewhere else. But all the offensive players are all sticking at. What does that tell you? Gaddis and Harbaugh are going to be back next year. Unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Well, I told you last week. We talked about it. He's getting a 3-year incentive-laden contract,
and the buyout on that is going to be cheap.
It's going to be cheap, and I'm going to tell you this: in a year or two, he'll be a coordinator in Baltimore.
Right. He'll be quality control, and then he'll move to a quarterback coach or a coordinator.
Yeah.
We'll see there on that. And again, we also know who's going to be out in like 2 years anyways. Is Deshaun Watson is going to be out on Houston.
Oh, yeah. Why did he re-sign? Why didn't he wait?
They're talking.
He didn't have to re-sign that. He didn't have to sign that extension when he did.
They actually, the local radio had a story on here because a story broke in SI last week. The most dysfunctional football franchise in the NFL, and it wasn't the Lions.
Yeah.
It's Houston.
All right.
Because
they still win more games than the Lions. What that fucking tell you? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, now it's his head of player personnel was the New England team chaplain.
No, I knew that.
Yeah.
What he did for New England was he did a really wonderful job. But he did, and I'm going to tell you why here in a second. But he basically did basically character checks and backgrounds on folks. So you don't end up with cats like Aaron fucking Hernandez
anymore because they kind of screwed up on that one.
Yeah. So so it's like it's just one of those fucking things, and that's what he did, and then he just started getting involved in all kinds of other shit, and now he's over there, and he's like all up in it like he's a GM and shit.
Yeah.
And that shit ain't gonna nah.
Deshaun Watson basically said, "I'm tired of this, man. I don't like this."
Right. Well, no, he leads it like a clergy and shit.
So
or
as
whatever.
soon as my buyout's over, man,
I'm fucking gone.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's kind of been common knowledge how that guy does shit. I don't know how he ended up over there or why they thought they'd bring him in, but yeah.
Oh, again, Bill O'Brien. Where did Bill O'Brien come from? New England.
Yeah, I know, but
he was he had a stop over at Penn State. Kind of got that program basically out of the dethers, and then basically Houston.
So he's basic. Well, that dude's like borderline cult of personality. So what the fuck is he, a sycophant? What's going on here? Is there some kind of cult action going on here? Jesus.
Well, again, the owner dies. The kids are running it. The kids don't know what the hell they're doing.
Oh my goodness.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And then our own Lions hire Chris Spielman as part of the advisory committee.
Yes.
Well, actually, I don't mind that. I think that's okay.
No, that's cool, but like...
And he even says, I'm not qualified to be a GM, so don't even think about hiring for a GM.
Right,
I'm not going to take it.
Well, and this is the whole thing with that. I'm cool with it, but do they listen?
That's the kicker.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if these guys put all this shit in their ears... Do they actually pull the trigger on it, or do they let their fucking bunghole tighten up so much that they follow this, ill-advised, like heart kind of like weird signing? Like, when is the last time they brought in anybody from a standpoint from coaching or any staffing at all, and people went, "Well, damn, that's a good hire. Wow." Like, that's a nice hire. Like, when has that ever happened? I mean, the closest thing might be Caldwell.
And that was where I was exactly going to go with it.
And I mean...
Caldwell was the right coach from Monday to Saturday.
Right.
His problem was on Sunday with the X's O and the game management.
Yeah.
But building a culture and making sure guys
were held accountable and all that, sure.
Was that Monday to Saturday.
Yeah.
On it. So I think, but probably again on there. So that might be the closest we've ever had in my lifetime.
Right, but how sad is that?
And that is, but again, you look at something like that. I mean, even like everybody talks about the Bears and that. I mean,
sure.
The Bears went to a Super Bowl and they won a Super Bowl. But again, you won a Super Bowl because you had the best freaking defense in the history of the NFL.
But you know what you had?
And the best running back.
But you know what you had? You had an identity.
Right.
That's what
They've always had that identity. And the Lions were kind of and again, growing up in the 70s and that, they were always not a bad defense, and especially that late 70s under, they were a really good defense wise. Floyd Peters was the defensive coordinator, and you had a defensive end that was absolutely destructive with Bubba Baker, who doesn't get enough love there. Because again, the sack wasn't an official stat then. They figured out in 1978 he had 20 and a half sacks.
Wow.
With it, that defense was really good, and then you got Billy Simmons. They were hard running team. Never had a freaking quarterback, and then we waste Barry Sanders, and they waste everybody because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
they don't have the right general manager.
Sure.
And we'll find out Friday and see if this is all smoke and mirrors, or because they're actually bringing in Louis Riddick to talk to him in an interview, and we'll see what happens there. Wise, I don't want no has-been, pass-by, ancient fucking guy out there. Again, Jerry Reese, no fucking way.
No.
I don't want this, again, a fucking retread.
Well,
I'd rather go with a guy that's got personnel experience. It's not a talking on there, on there that's gone with it.
They've, now she's already come out and said that they want somebody that's experienced. So I don't know what that fucking means. If they have to be experienced at GM and at
then
fucking...
it's a retread.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then the candidates have shrunk down to
And
just a
I think,
handful
you
of
don't need to
retreads.
have experience as a general manager, but if you've got experience as maybe an assistant general manager
Well,
or player person
right.
on a program that's basically, and again, even if you've transitioned lateral to different jobs and you've had success on
Sure.
it, I'd rather on there. Again, last time on here before Quinn I was a big fan of Elliott Wolf, who was in Green Bay, and I'm not sure where he's at now. I think maybe he's now with Indianapolis, who's gotten a good experience, who's done really well with the player personnel wise.
Sure.
Decisions. Plus, he's got the pedigree because his dad was Ron Wolf, who built the Packers with Brett Favre.
Right.
So I want something like that where you've got some sort of pedigree with it. Again, don't we screwed the pooch with getting Millen. We picked the wrong guy who was doing broadcasting, and we probably should have got either Mayock or John Lynch. Of course, then again, John Lynch went to fucking Stanford. So again, he's freaking smart.
All right.
So you look at that. And again, also, too, benefits on there that you've got probably the best player caller as a head coach with Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I just, I don't know.
And again, you look at that on there. So we'll see what happens. Also, too, you look at there to get Washington winning again on there, which
Yes.
I call beating Frisco on there. And people are like, oh, Coach here. I'm looking, Coach
No.
here. Again, you almost got to look at, might be right. If they get to the playoffs and win that division, say they get to 9-7, they win out and they get to 9-7, they win to get to the playoffs on there. Then on top of it, he's going through cancer treatments on
sure.
Sunday before going out in the field, getting his chemo bag. Dude, that's it. You got nobody else besides coach of the year after all the bullshit he's gone through. Plus, you got basically you're on your third string quarterback who's comeback player of the year without a doubt.
Yeah.
With it, and again, that defense is not all time great, but they're a young defense, and they're going to be a scary defense.
I just think this is the problem with Washington is always going to be how they'll be managed from a player personnel standpoint. Now, do I hope Ron Rivera can keep some of this stuff in check? Yes, I do hope he can. But that team is.
If it was a different ownership on there, say if it was
right,
anybody else on there,
I'd be like,
besides-
okay, they're on the come up. But for me, I feel like this is a great story. Like, and I love the content we talk about all the time. We that's what I like. And it is going to be a great story with the Alex Smith scenario. And like you said, if they can get into the playoffs, win the division, whatever, all that stuff would be great. But do they come back and repeat these performances? Do they continue to do better? Do they draft well? Do the things really change with Ron Rivera there? That'd be cool. But that's the one thing that I'm waiting to see. But once again, when we talk about Rona all the time here, this season for me is just a bonus. It's just content. It's we have a reason to talk here every week. We got something to do 3-4 nights a week sometimes now with the way these games have been spread out with all the craziness. So I'm just kind of taking it for that. So I don't know what this season tells us, to be honest. What it tells me is if you have a quarterback coach combination that's been around long enough, then you don't need as much. You don't need the preparation, right?
No.
So what if they decide to continue cutting these preseason games and potentially extend the season to, as part of that? All you're going to get is crappy games that count.
Yes.
Right? I think this season's kind of showed us that, if anything else, that there's a lot of crappy games being played because they couldn't get themselves together and they didn't have the training camps and the OTAs and the preseason, and they didn't have none of that shit. So they're just coming on now, right? We're seeing a lot of that. A lot of teams were bad early on. They're just now kind of getting up to speed, and so I think if anything, this season has showed us that what we're gonna see down the road if they start cutting that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they start, if they go down to 2 preseason games and they keep cutting their OTAs and preseason workouts and making this voluntary and that and the other thing, I think you're going to have these these scenarios like you have in the NFC East where you've got 4 teams who don't have a quarterback coach combination that's working on all cylinders prior to this, and so they struggle. And you've got they're fucking 4 wins, and we're getting to the end of the season. And you're wondering how there's going to be a fucking 7-9 team getting in. There could be a 6-10 team getting into the playoffs. We were talking. Those were conversations we were having, and so I think you're gonna have more of that if they continue that trend
too, and I also think
with the OT. And I think that's the only thing that this season can show us, other than we know who's great.
Yes, and when you see some of the good teams are playing down to their competition, it's like, dude,
Yeah.
what are you struggling against this team? You should blow these guys out.
Right.
And again, a la Kansas City, it's like they're just, but again, they're almost like playing with you. Look at this, look at this.
Oh.
No, not gonna have it. I got $1 for you. And almost got it.
And that's part of what this is all about. We know Kansas City does. You know what I mean? That's not what they're about. But with this crazy year,
Mahomes throws 3 picks, and they still basically score 33 points and pull out the win. I mean, it was like
so crazy. Anyway, so
there was some craziness on there. You got I think the Monday night was like the tied as the. But again, with 2 other teams have actually had 9 rushing touchdowns. Every touchdown was a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, the other 2 teams were both in the same season, 1922. Yeah, that's a stat of the day for you. Jesus.
And again, if Cleveland had a decent kicker, they would have won that game because he missed an extra point and a field goal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a long field goal. It was a 38-yarder. Mm-hmm. Dude, you're never supposed to admit. Those are gimmies.
Yeah, but this weekend was the fucking jinx weekend. Kickers were fucking...
Minnesota missed 3 field goals and an extra point.
Dude,
that's freaking 10 points.
Dude, I had Red Zone on and 3 other live games on all at once, dude. All these kickers were doinking and missing, and oh my God. It was bad. Getting blocked.
Dan Bailey was so terrible. I thought they're going to cut him on the plane ride home. You know what? You just might as well just go straight home. Well, you can pick up your stuff tomorrow in a box.
Yeah. You should probably find another flight, a commercial one.
Yeah. You can use my points.
Yes.
But you're not coming home with us.
Yeah.
They're ready to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Missing 3 field goals and an extra point. You lose by 12. There's 10 of it right there.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it. Pittsburgh, they're having their problems on there. They're 2 weeks in a row. And again, looks like Buffalo, the defense is now starting to get things rolling there.
Well, and that's crucial for them timing-wise, right?
Yes.
They're starting
to peak at the right time now, it looks like, over the last couple weeks.
And my take with Pittsburgh is this has not been a 2-week thing. This has been all season. Yeah, they've been kind of like, you're like wondering when this.
When you pulled that squeaker against Dallas, I mean, you pulled that one out.
So it just felt like their undefeated streak was going to end at some point. It was just a matter of when, and then are they going to dramatically fall apart? We knew also. What's the rest of their schedule look like? I think it gets a little tougher for them the last few games here.
Well, I think they got Cleveland and Baltimore.
Right, and you're talking about 2 hot teams right now in the division. That's interesting. That could be really interesting, actually.
Week, well, again, let's see here. This week they got Cincinnati, so that's an easy one on Monday night. Then they got Indianapolis.
Okay.
At home. And then they go to Cleveland for the last game of the season.
Now,
Cleveland could be fighting for, again, if Cleveland get on there, they could be fighting for their playoff lives there. So that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. And
then Cleveland's schedule is...
Yeah, because, I mean, that's...
Cleveland's got on there because they've got... Well, Cleveland's got New York on Sunday. Mm-hmm. The Giants. Then they stay in New York. They got the Jets.
Oh, okay.
And then they got Pittsburgh. So Cleveland should win their next 2 on there.
Sure.
Hopefully. And then they got Pittsburgh for the last.
That'll be a good game. if they depending on how they play it. Like if the seating's all locked in, then it might not. It might just be ugly backups.
Right.
But a division game in week 17, that's what they did that on purpose.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You know.
Because the Lions played Minnesota, and unfortunately, the playoffs are over.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'd be butter.
Yeah, but I mean, the Lions we're talking about.
Yes.
You said the fucking Lions.
No, I would get not the Lions. The Lions would lose because
Yes.
I got Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I don't know who guys
I'd
anymore.
be butter.
So anyway,
And then the Bills, let's see here, because they're fighting it out, and they're going to win their division. They got Denver this week, then at New England, and then Miami at home last week of the season. January 3rd, Miami's got to go up to Buffalo, and they're not going to like that.
no, that's what I'm saying. That's why I really think Baltimore will be able to leapfrog them in the division and potentially get that last spot, that last playoff spot.
Yeah, Buffalo's won their last 3 games. They beat the Chargers, beat Frisco, beat Pittsburgh on there. And then they did lose a nail-biter. Again, they lost that last second. They should have won. They should be on like a 7-game win streak because they lose to Arizona back in week
The
10.
Hail Murray,
And
right?
that was the Hail Mary one.
Yeah.
And so they should be on a 7-game win streak. So, yeah, meanwhile, Josh Allen's, let's see, last week, Pittsburgh... he passed for 238 against Pittsburgh, 375 against Frisco. The Chargers one, they just were able to run it on there. And defense-wise, he only passed 150. But 284 against Arizona. Seattle, he threw for 515 yards. And then New England was basically, again, a ground game, and at 154 and 307 under. And again, too, Buffalo's helped out too is because they've actually got a legit number 1 receiver with Stephon
Sure.
Diggs,
Yep.
and he's in the top 5 receiving yards, reception wise, and I think on there. So they definitely is. That's again the perfect. And again, you gave up a first rounder, but you got Stephon Diggs. Okay, you know what? That's a perfect.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
yeah, they needed it. Yeah.
He's again, you know what he is. He's
Yep.
again, he can
Proven commodity.
right.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
and the defense is starting to come again a little bit. So I like that. So.
Yeah, Bills Mafia, they got a lot of happy things to think about right now. Their trend, like you said, with the Hail Murray aside, they would have won the last 7 games, and just the way that they're playing. So there's more consistency there than you've seen before, and that's going to be the name of the game this year for everybody. Is can you maintain consistency because that war of attrition between that and the whole COVID protocol thing, and they're not doing a playoff bubble.
No.
So it's going to be real fucking interesting if there happens to be an outbreak during these playoffs.
And again, I think for Seattle, is their defense is looking atrocious. They're banged up on there. And again, we'll see what happens. Again, Russ is not having the time to pass it. With it, they're kind of getting a little too cute with that.
I know. I wish they would stop with that.
With it, because the way the Rams are playing on defense-wise,
Well, the Rams are playing all 3 phases
Goff's playing
pretty
controlled,
well. Right.
But now you got Cam Akers is healthy,
Sure.
And look what he did to New England. He busted off for 171. But that defense, especially that front 4, is downright scary.
Oh, sure, and their special teams is playing well. They've won a game. Each phase has won a game this year for them. At least one game, and that's amazing. When your offense, wins you games, that's pretty normal. But when your defense wins you games, that's nice. When your special teams wins you games, that's great. They've got all 3 of those things happening for them this year, and that's the single best thing that I've seen. Now, are they world beaters and all that? How deep do I see them going? I'm not sure. Definitely not world beaters, but getting Goff on point, after kind of him stumbling a little bit, and just having that team built the way it is. I like what they got going on there. They steadied a ship that felt like it was fucking crumbling and sinking.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It felt like
south
and all of a sudden, man.
And again, you got a young defensive coordinator there, and it looks now. Again, I think he's probably about 2 years away from getting some serious head coaching prospects wise with it. And again, Aaron Donald is just a monster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What
An
else can
undersized
you say?
defensive tackle, and he's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah,
absolute
nobody can
beast.
nobody can stop him.
He is so flippin' strong. It's just unreal. He just manhandles. Double team him, fine. I'll throw them both around like a rag doll.
Yep.
On that. And again, I think that, and again, the Seahawks won big because, again, don't get ahead of yourself. It was the Jets.
Yes.
So, again, the Jets are doing good. They almost blew it from getting the guy there, but they're trust me, they are not going to win a game now.
No.
Yeah.
Who do they got left? Just out of curiosity, because
Well,
I
they got Cleveland left. We saw that
Yeah.
next week.
sure.
Because
Because I just feel like there's got to be one in there because they were breaking it down, and Detroit's 0-16 team has definitely felt worse.
Well, the Jets have got the Rams this week,
Uh-huh.
Cleveland next week, and New England last week of the season.
If New England's got nothing to play for,
Trust me, Belichick doesn't want to lose to the Jets.
he just want to be the only
He
one.
wants to screw them over again when he
It-
basically says, I don't want the job. I'm going to go to New England.
He doesn't want to be the only one that loses to him.
Trust me, they're not going to win a game.
They might not. They're still not as bad as that 0 and
I think
16.
they might be even worse on there.
Dude, I was listening to these guys, and with the exception of the Lions had 4 one-possession games that they lost, and the Jets have only had 3 so far this year. That being the only statistical anomaly in favor of the Lions being better than the Jets.
Yeah, but
I mean, from a offensive standpoint, statistically, from a defensive standpoint,
But they- I mean,
statistically,
these-
from a defensive standpoint, statistically, that was the worst team in football history.
Yeah.
That 0-16.
This honor, the
So-
amount of blowouts is. I mean, they've been blown out by 8 or more points. Let's see here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
What?
9, 10 times they've been lost by 8 or more points.
All right.
And again, a lot of those are again, they lost 40-3 to the Frisco. I mean, the Seattle.
Well, that's what
They
I said.
lost
That's the
20,
only stat that
23.
you have. Like I said, you've got the only stat that the Lions have that 0-16
The one
Lions team
plus side
had.
is the Jets, and again, unfortunately, he's going to be the scapegoat, and they're going to trade him. Is Sam Darnold's not? It's not his fault. 'Cause
No, but you're not fixing the situation, and
because
he's
you got the wrong coach, and again, I don't know where the hell they thought Adam Gase was going to be.
Well, Adam Gase is definitely a joke, but you could bring in another coach. You could do all this and that and the other thing. That team is not going to be rebuilt in time for you to fix Darnold. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well, the good news, I mean, Darnold's only 4 years. He's going into his third. He's finishing up his 3rd year on it.
right, but if it takes you 3 to 4 years to fix this fucking mess and get him on
Again, Is he
track,
going to stick around when his
he's
contract's
not.
up?
That's
No.
what I'm saying. No, so you get rid of him for
You get
for
hopefully
something.
you get a first rounder
You get
or
anything.
or a couple
A
seconds.
fucking
But yeah, here's your kicker
a
is
couple
Frank-
towels and a gallon of Gatorade.
Frank Gore's your leading rusher.
Yeah, that guy's like 350 years old.
He was there when the NFL first started.
Dude, yeah, when they played with like boulders, they didn't even have like
500. He's got more rushing yards than the top receiving yard. 546 rushing yards.
wow.
Frank Gore. And only 1 touchdown. Oh my God! They have only rushed for 7 touchdowns as a team.
Yes,
They're terrible.
absolutely.
And they've only had how many touchdowns as receiving touchdowns? 11. This is the worst offensive team I've ever seen. And
But-
again, your top running back is a